evening, everyone. I hope you guys are enjoying your Thursday so far. I hope your week is going well. For those of you who maybe haven't met me on another platform or through another childcare kind of hat that I wear, my name is Crystal Churcher. I am here tonight with ChildFriendly, who has very generously put together these resources for our ECE community essentially across Alberta, but across the country as well. Tonight we are hosting a learning lab, which is our second one. So this is a fairly new program that has just been rolled out. So I would love your feedback at the end of it. I hope you can all see my screen. Before we begin, I guess I want to start with kind of putting it forward to you to give us just a moment to think about your classrooms, your environment that you work in, what it looks like, what it feels like, and think about a time when the children were really deeply engaged with you, focused and curious and trying something over and over again. That is the kind of learning that we are going to be talking about today. Today, we are focused on the Learning Lab framework, which is about exploring, creating, and building. It's not about adding more to your day or more work to your job. It is really with the intention of simplifying your planning while increasing the quality of learning. Throughout the session, I want you to think about that one question. How can I use simple materials in a more intentional way? Because that is really where the shift happens from busy activities to meaningful learning. And with all of the activities that we put together for these learning labs, my intention is for you to have these resources, at least for the most part, in your centers, not to add again to your workload or to the budget. Learning and planning within your centers doesn't have to be super expensive, and most of us have a ton of unused resources within our centers already. So let's go a bit deeper into what the Learning Lab actually is. The framework is designed to help educators move away from complicated planning. Instead of asking, what lesson am I teaching today? We really want you to ask, what environment am I creating for the children to learn in? And that's a really big shift. The Learning Lab focuses on 3 types of experiences. Just letting people in from the waiting room right now. 3 types of experiences. Explore, where children investigate and test and create, where children express and build and design. And then building, where children strengthen skills and solve problems. And here's what really makes this powerful is that these are not separate subjects. They're interconnected experiences that support development across multiple areas at once. So instead of planning 5 different activities for 5 different skills, you'll create one strong experience that supports many skills. It's efficient, it's intentional, and it really is what high quality practice looks like. Now, I want to just slow down here because this one is one of the most important parts of today and of the Learning Lab series, is why does hands-on play matter? Because young children learn through action. They need to touch, move, and repeat. And we break those into 3 areas. First, the thinking and investigating. When a child pours something, like at a water table, they're asking, what happens if I do this? What is the effect of this action? When they are building, that cause and effect, that prediction and problem solving happens. And then you have your second portion of this, the motor development. When a child squeezes, glue, or peels tape, they're building that strength. And that strength is directly connected to writing. So if we skip these experiences, children will struggle later. Thirdly is the language and regulation. When children are engaged in meaningful play, they talk more, they stay focused longer. So these simple activities are doing a lot of work. And when you understand that, you begin to see play differently, and you begin to plan your activities with more intention. We're going to look a little bit more closely at the 3 invitations. So for tonight's series on Explore, Create, and Build, under Explore, we're going to go into what we called and when I put this together, it was with the intention that it was going to be spring and that we would have warm weather and maybe some of these things could happen outside for you. Depending on where you guys are, you might still have snow. So we have our Waterworks lab tonight. Our explore, collage and construct, and then our create is tape rescue mission, and that's under the build and create section. I want to just highlight something important, that these are not complicated setups. Most of you have already will have these materials, and what makes these different is how you use them, and even more importantly, how you adapt them to different age groups, different development levels, because a 12-month-old and a 4-year-old cannot engage in the same way. So instead of changing the activity, we change the materials, the level of challenge, and our language. And that's what really makes this approach flexible and powerful. We're going to start with our explore portion of tonight. Water play is one of the most natural learning experiences for children. It's one of the most, I would say, my most favorite thing to set up and really put together for my center and for children in my programs. Children really are drawn to it. They want to test it. They want to repeat it. So instead of stopping that behavior, we design it. We're going to use water to support early science thinking, coordination, and sensory regulation. And this is really a perfect example of following the child's interest and turning it into learning. We're going to break down the setup for this one because this is where many educators, I find, either succeed or struggle. If the setup is too complicated, children become overwhelmed. If it's too controlled, children stop exploring. So we want that balance. Prepare the space so that you feel comfortable with the mess, because if you're worried about mess, you're going to interrupt learning. So start with just a few materials, then model once, and then, this is probably the most important part. Once you've modeled it and set it up, step back. Give the children time. Silence is okay. Observation is where you're going to learn the most about the child and about how they're engaging with the activity. And ask yourself, what is this child trying to figure out? And where is the teaching coming from? And what are they actually learning? And what are they engaged in with this activity? For the first explore activity under our water works for tonight, we're going to start with, we always cover 3 age groups in these, the first being the 12 to 18 month kind of age range and development level. At this stage, development is all about sensory input and repetition. Children are not trying to complete a task, they're trying to understand the world. They repeat actions again and again because repetition builds those brain connections. So if a child is pouring from the same cup 20 times, that's learning. We support this by keeping the materials simple. In this example, we're using large cups, simple scoops, and simple language. We're not asking questions yet. We're just labeling things like pour and full and empty. We're building that vocabulary and understanding at the same time. So the goal here with this activity at this level is not about performance. It's about connection and action and results. So for the first activity, you can see here we used large cups, scoops, a floating toy. There's like a rubber duck in the picture. You could use whatever you wanted to. A small bin with water in it, depending again on what you have available in your center. Maybe you have a water table or something else, but very, very basic and easy to set up outside or inside, whatever works for your center. The next age group, we're going to move over to the 19 to 36 month age group. This is where development shifts. Children have more control over their bodies. They begin to notice differences. They compare, they experiment. So we're increasing the complexity here of this activity. We added tools to the activity, so not just the cups and the scoops. We've added some funnels to this one, just to make it, a little bit more complex. You could add different types of containers too. And now they can test those ideas. Our language also changes here. We begin asking, what happens if? We invite that thinking, what happens if we do this? Let's test this out. Is it full? Is it empty? Does it float? Those kind of things. You're not just there repeating, but you're engaging with the children and kind of sparking those interests and putting those ideas out there. The children too are not just repeating the same actions like we saw in the younger development level, you're going to see that they're experimenting more. They're thinking and processing kind of what's happening with the water and the different materials more at this age group for sure. So this is really the beginning of the problem solving for them. Under our 3 to 4-year-olds, under the Explore activity, we're going to see a really big shift in thinking here. The children can predict, they can explain, they can reflect. So we're here to challenge them. We can introduce ideas like measurement and prediction. We can ask questions like, what do you think will happen? What could you try next? What do you predict will happen? And then we follow up. Why do you think that happened? Why did it make that splash, or why did it sink, or why did it float? Those kind of things. We are now building that reasoning. And this really is the foundation of scientific thinking, the same activity, but now is more deeper critical thinking for them. We've taken the same tray, the same kind of water table or whatever you were using. We've added to the measuring cups and the funnels, we've added some tubing and a variety of different test objects. So you can kind of see from this picture, there's like chalk and different things in there to kind of see what's going to maybe float and what might sink. Little bit of food coloring or something to change the color of water here. Whatever you like, just to make it simple, use resources and things you already have around your center just to keep it cost effective and easy for you as well. So with the create portion of our learning labs, this is really where many educators think this is just art, but it is so much more than that. And this is where children really build the muscles for writing and those future skills that they're going to need. Every time they press, they stick, or they manipulate materials, they're strengthening their hands. So it's not optional work, it's really essential development. And children really have I would say, like have regressed so much with the fine motor development and actual hand strength to be able to move to holding onto pencils and things. This is so much more important, I think, and critical to their development than it ever used to be. With our create portion tonight, the setup really here is critical. Too many materials leads to confusion. So we like to start small. We offer a few choices. We model the process, but not the outcome. And this is where we need to be careful. If we show a finished example, the children will copy it. And copying really stops the thinking process and is not what we're looking at for this Learning Lab series. We want to really promote that exploration and the decision making. We want children to say, I choose this, and that is really where that confidence grows. So some setups here just to make it easy for you, cover a table with, paper or cardboard just to protect the workspace, however works, within your setup and what kind of environment you have. Start simple by offering, 2 to 3 collage materials that provide some choice, but limited. It's not overwhelming at first, and manageable materials for what you have. Keeping those tools ready and accessible, so it could be glue or tape, whatever you have around. And we're going to kind of show you what that looks like for different ages here. So at the 12 to 18 month stage, the children really are learning how to use their hands, how their hands work. They're building that initial strength and coordination and sensory awareness. So we want to make it really easy to succeed. We used large pieces of paper, could be tissue paper, different types of paper, whatever you have on hand. Large pieces are easy for grasping and sticking. They can press and explore. Pre-applied glue or tape available, whatever you have again in your center that's accessible. Building that confidence and control. You could look at even contact paper if you had that available for them to stick things onto and make that collage. Some of the language you would be using around here to introduce different words would be more things like stick and press. Is it on? Is it stuck? Those kind of things. And we're going to look, oops, sorry, I think I went the wrong way. For the 19 to 36 month age group, this is where you're going to see that children are really beginning to make those choices. They decide where things go. They have an intention and a plan for what their art is going to look like, even if it's very simple. They're developing that decision making and coordination and that independence. So we want to give them options. We can have some questions kind of thrown out there as they're working. Where will it go? What are you making? Press and hold. Those kind of things to kind of spark their interest and make sure that you're engaging with them while they're working. And now they're thinking and they're also creating together. So it really builds their confidence and their sense of ownership. What we added to this from the other age group was instead of those big kind of squares of simple paper, you can see things here like foam shapes, some glue sticks, tissue paper, or maybe some scraps of different kinds of paper with different textures would be great to incorporate at this age for kind of this collage type of activity. For our 3 to 4 year olds, our preschool age group, the children really can think ahead at this age. They can plan, they can design, they're developing that sequencing and creativity and fine motor precision. So we want to make sure we expand the materials here. We allow more freedom. We can ask deeper questions. What are you making? What will you add next? Now this becomes more about critical and creative thinking, and it connects directly to writing and storytelling. So we added with this one just to make kind of the same materials, but make it a little bit more elaborate and age appropriate. We added optional scissors, some glue and tape, mixed textures. You can see in the one picture, there's some cardboard shapes and different things to kind of raise it up from that one-dimensional collage, yarn and different scraps of other maybe art materials you have around. So 3 really good kind of easy, simple art setups over a huge span of ages and development levels with resources that you likely have around your art areas and your centers already. So our final invitation under the Learning Lab is the build section. We chose something tonight called the Tape Rescue Mission. I know this was always a really popular one in my centers. This activity is powerful because it combines strength and thinking. The children are not just moving, they're solving problems, and they're building that physical strength needed for writing. So this, again, is really easy and fun. You can make it, kind of elaborate and whatever, you want to for the interests of the children that you're working with too. The setup with this one is really important. Vertical surfaces matter. They build shoulder strength, which is critical for writing. You can create some simple challenges. We can introduce it with play. Are they stuck? Can you help them? So what we kind of suggested for some of the setup here is maybe to look at choosing something outside of just a tabletop. It could be like the table edge, a wall, or a window for the activity, a vertical surface. Like I said, to kind of increase that shoulder and shoulder strength and support. Choose a space that's easy for them to reach and keep this setup simple and clear. You literally lightly tape items in place using painter's tape, which is a great one. It won't take the paint off your walls or your furniture or anything like that. It's easy for them to kind of grab the tape ends. It comes off. You can adjust the tape length for difficulty too. Again, however difficult and complicated you want to make it. But it keeps the materials visible and inviting. So it's very easy to set up. It's usually something you have around your center. You can incorporate different kinds of toys or materials into this. And again, really engaging. Children love this, and you can make it as elaborate and kind of complex as you want to. For the 12 to 18 month at this stage, the children really are learning the basic movements. They're developing that pulling and coordination, the cause and effect. So we really want to keep it simple here. Large tape tabs, like you can see in the pictures, easy objects. We've got some like ball pit kind of round balls in the pictures, some like little figures and ducks, the easy things that fit in their hands. Keeping it, again, super simple for them, and then they can have success in that pulling and the cause and effect of this activity. The goal really is for success on this. You want them to learn that they can do this and build that independent for them. So some of the language you could throw out while you're observing and engaging with them is, words like pull or you did it or more, is it stuck, those kind of things, to kind of introduce different vocabulary around this activity. For our 19 to 36 months, the children here are developing persistence. So they will try, they'll struggle, they'll try again. You can make it a little bit more difficult here, a little bit more engaging for them. They're developing some grip strength, coordination, and problem solving. You can see in the pictures here that we increased the level of challenge. You can see like a baking tin with items taped into it. We've got one of the children using like tongs or tweezers instead of just their hands. So you're really building on that fine motor skills and that coordination, and supporting it with some language around here, like pull slowly, or what happens if you pull fast? How did you get it to come off? Can you use two hands? Lots of different engaging kind of vocabulary and language that you can build into this activity at this age. We took small, like to elaborate on the materials from the first one, which were super basic. We added some small toys or even pictures. The tape is at varied heights and different lengths. You could use different colors of tape as well. Optional tweezers or tongs just for that added development and challenge with it as well. So super easy. This is a great activity that most children would be happy to engage in. And you can build on it and kind of add to it to, again, to kind of make it extended and make it more engaging for longer periods of time as well. So for our preschool ages, our 3 to 4 on this, the children here really can plan, again, like we saw with the art activity. They like to think before they act at this age, most of them. They're developing that strategy and flexible thinking, problem solving. You can start to incorporate some more extended language here, like what's your plan? Can you solve it another way? Can you create your own rescue? You could really make this almost like a storytelling activity as well about rescuing dinosaurs or whatever animals or things that are engaging those children at that time. You'll see that we've incorporated a lot of different materials into this basic activity on this age group. You have vertically taped items, optional tweezers, rescue tools such as rubber bands or trays or matching surfaces, all can kind of add to this basic activity. Your developmental focus for this is that shoulder stability, strategic thinking, and executive functioning. This is a great activity to really increase that higher level of thinking. And again, like you can see there, that one of the children, it's almost like a water table with the tape rescue built into it. So it's almost combining kind of the two activities from the beginning. You can make this kind of as elaborate as you want to as well. Very easy. Painter's tape is like one of the best resources, cheapest resources you can have around your center. You can do so many different things with it. So for the observation focus for our educators, we come back kind of full circle in this learning lab kind of framework to you as the educators. When we started, we want to talk about, how we make this easy for you, how we can make the planning not so complicated, make it something that not only meets the children's interests and the developmental level, but uses resources you have available in your center, doesn't cost you a ton of money. It also isn't something that's consuming a ton of time and adding to your workload. These are really easy, basic activities that can support you and help you kind of, I guess, keep going with your workload and not just add to the stress and the burden of your jobs already. But it's really important to not just set up the activities and engage with the children, but to actually do some observations and pull the learning from what you're seeing here. So we want to support you in that and kind of guide you with those activities. What does the observation focus look like for you? What does the documentation kind of sound like, so that you can communicate with parents as well on what the children are learning while they're with you and in your care. So you're observing, you're looking for things like coordination, persistence, language, problem solving, and you document what you see. That's what connects play to learning. That's what makes your work professional. So some of the words that kind of go around in the development skills and different things that they're learning that you're observing through these activities that we just ran through would be persistence. You're going to see children that are persistent and trying again and again, whether it's through the tape rescue kind of activities that you set up, or through maybe the collage of really trying to get out what their vision was. They may be very persistent in creating that piece of artwork that they're excited to show you or their parents at the end of the day. The two-handed coordination, so whether it's through like the tongs that you're using or tweezers you've incorporated into it, maybe you've added some sponges into the water table and there's squeezing and two-handed coordination into those activities. And then problem-solving strategies across all of these activities. That's a big one, especially for that 3 to 4 year old age group. The language expansion that we added to each one, regulation and sustained engagement, planning and sequencing, and just regulation overall. So those are kind of some of the key words and developmental areas that you could use to guide you when you're doing your observations, maybe when you're doing your parent communication for how the day went, and to go along with maybe some of the photos or whatever you're choosing to share with families. An example of an observation from one of these activities, which was from one of the water activities here on the screen. Liam carefully poured water between containers, adjusting his hands when it spilled. He demonstrated problem solving and refined coordination. So taking some really kind of intentional language that's built around the skills that you've utilized those activities to build for the children is going to go a long way for parents. They're going to be learning through you all of the skills that their children are learning through play-based activities in your centers and with you. It's also going to really professionalize your role and show that you know what you're talking about with the developmental level of the children you're working with the skills that they're building. So it's really important to, when you're setting up these activities and thinking ahead to the observations, maybe you've already kind of set aside some of these key points and different phrases that you might try to incorporate when you're communicating with parents following the day. Wrap up for today. I just want to kind of reiterate the intention of our Learning Lab. This, again, is a fairly new program for us. The intention here is to provide our educators with some practical classroom activities. ChildFriendly is built by a childcare operator right from Alberta that has really seen, how supporting the team and supporting the educators is so critical in providing quality childcare. And we've all learned that our professional funding has shifted, so it's even more important now than ever to kind of reach out and find those like free resources that you can to build your skills and help you in your role as educators. So with the Learning Lab, we will offer these once a month. They're always going to be framed around an explore activity, a create, and a build around those 3 areas. So an age groups are our infants or toddlers, I guess, to our like junior preschool and preschool ages. Just to make sure that we can kind of guide you on how you modify those activities to meet those different development levels and age groups. And again, all of these activities are all about keeping it simple for you, making it as easy as possible to incorporate these play-based activities while building those skills, as inexpensive and easy for you to just pull those resources, hopefully from around the center, and really show you that simple does not mean that it's less learning. Simple, when it's intentional, is really powerful, creates really powerful learning for children. And you do not need to add more materials. You just need to be more intentional and have clarity about how you're using the materials you already have. So that is pretty much it for tonight. I'm more than happy to go back through some of them. If you have questions, we can slow it down or directly answer kind of specific questions if you had. We will follow up with some amazing resources that are all aligned with these 3 activities, the water, the collage activity, and then the tape rescue, so that you can implement these in your own program if you want to. But yeah, I'll open it up if anybody has any questions. Otherwise, we will be offering the next Learning Lab right in the middle of May, on May 14th. But yeah, I'm open to take any questions or comments or anything anybody wants to share for tonight. Well, I hope this, I hope this helped give you some ideas maybe for Friday morning that you don't have to kind of stress and be frantic trying to figure out what you're going to do tomorrow. Maybe this sparked something for you to make it a little bit easier for tomorrow, or maybe even when you're planning for the future next week, that maybe you've thought now you can use some of these easy materials and easy setups for your next kind of round of planning. And I hope it brought some value to you and your evening on a Thursday. And we'll be back to do this again with some different activities in the middle of May. So I hope everyone enjoys the rest of your week. And we will, we do actually have a question here before we wrap up. Sorry, I'll just quickly grab it from our chat. Sorry about that. What is the best way to support a child who is chronologically in the 19 to 36 month group, but is currently working at the 12 to 18 month development level, still working on basic grip strength and bilateral coordination? The slides are not available on the website directly, but we do have them as a resource for you before we jump into the other one. And the recording is always shared as well. So I mean, I think it's going to depend on the child. I don't know if you want me to go back through one of these activities and try and break it down for you, Dragana. I'm happy to do that. But I think that if you have a child that is at that 19 to 36 month old age, but developmentally 12 to 18 months, you could almost take one of the 12 to 18 month activities here and how we laid it out to modify it almost backwards in age to really support them in where they're at developmentally. That's kind of why we set it up this way with the 3 age groups, so that you can kind of look at how you modify it based on not just their actual chronological age, but where they are for their developmental and skill level as well. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question. I'm happy for you to reach out to me and we can kind of go through it more specific for your situation. But I would suggest just look at the activity and kind of like simplify it down a step without knowing the child and kind of exactly where they are. Isn't it boring for older children? It could be. And you maybe have this in different forms, right? Like you don't have to set up one activity the exact same way. You can incorporate and modify these really to meet the different interests and needs of the children in the group, in the larger group too. All right. Well, thank you for the questions tonight. It was nice to have you engage with us. And yeah, the follow-up, there will be the recording of this. There will be the follow-up kind of resources for you to follow. If there's anything else you need, please reach out. Thanks for showing up tonight and enjoy the rest of your week.